Tricky Little Hippo by Jane Bowring and Nina Rycroft. Two little hippopotamuses stared at the water. They were counting. 9, 10, 11, 12. A little way down the river, the big hippos rumbled and grumbled, but the little hippos took no notice. 13, 14, 15. Above them, a bird squawked and flapped its wings, but the little hippos didn't lose count. 16, 7, oh! There was a splash, and a roly-poly little hippo burst out of the water. "How many did I do?" cried Holly. Water sprayed from her ears as they popped up straight. 17, said Heath. "Oh," said Holly, "is that all?" It was 2 better than Heath, but Honey had stayed under the water for 21 whole seconds. "Let's play a different game," said Holly. "Chasing's in the mud," yelled Honey, and the 3 little hippos raced off to the mud hole just beyond the reeds. They squealed and they squelched, and they rolled and they belched, and the mud squeezed through their toes as they chased each other through the sleepy, sloppy mud. Heath caught Holly, and Honey caught Holly, and Holly caught Honey, and Heath caught Honey. But nobody came even close to catching Heath. The 3 little hippos played and played until the sun began to go down. When their mothers came to get them, they couldn't tell which little hippo was which. As the frogs began to croak their evening song, Holly's friend Egret flew down from a tree. "Did you have fun today?" said Egret. "Yes," said Holly, but then she sighed. "What is it, little one?" said Egret. "Well," said Holly, "Honey was best at staying underwater, and Heath was best at chasing. I want to be best at something too." "You are best at something," said Egret. "Am I?" said Holly. "What will we play today?" asked Holly the next morning. "Hide and seek," said Heath. "I'll be in." Heath covered his eyes and began to count. Honey swam off and hid behind a clump of water weeds. She stayed very, very still. Holly crouched behind her mother, who was dozing on the river bank. "Coming, ready or not," cried Heath. Heath looked all around him. He looked at the big hippos resting in the shallows. Their heads pillowed on each other's backs. He looked at the water reeds, long and green at the water's edge. And then he looked at Holly's mother, snorting and snuffling on the river bank. Picking up behind her back, he saw 2 little ears. "Found you! Found you, Holly!" he cried. "Let's play a different game," said Holly. "I know," said Heath. "Who can open their mouth the widest?" Honey went first. She opened her mouth very wide. Holly went next, and she opened her mouth even wider. But then Heath opened his mouth so wide that his teeth glinted in the sunlight. As the frogs began to croak their evening song, Holly's friend Egret flew down from a tree. "Did you have fun today?" said Egret. "Oh yes," said Holly. "But Honey was best at hiding, and Heath was best at opening his mouth. I want to be best at something too." "You are best at something," said Egret. "Am I?" said Holly. The next day, Honey said, "Let's play who can stay under the water the longest." Holly didn't want to. She was sure Honey would win again. But then she saw a dark shape walking on the bottom of the river, and she changed her mind. Honey went first and she stayed under for 22 seconds. Heath went second and he stayed under for 23 seconds. And then it was Holly's turn. She took a huge gulp of air and sank beneath the water. 1, 2, 3. Honey and Heath began to count. 8, 9, 10. They were counting so carefully they didn't see Holly walk along the riverbed and go around behind them. 15, 16, 17. Heath and Honey were counting so carefully they didn't see Holly watching them from the reeds. 21, 22. Holly would have to come up soon. Egret flapped his wings and flew down onto Honey's back. But the two little hippos didn't lose count. 26, 27. Heath and Honey were getting worried now. No little hippo had ever stayed under this long. They stared hard at the water. They were staring so hard they didn't notice the little raft of eyes, ears, and nose gliding silently towards them. They were staring so hard that when a roly-poly shape burst out of the water behind them, bellowing, "Trick you! Trick you!" They all belly flopped into the water. When she looked at her friends' astonished faces, the grin on Holly's face was so huge that her teeth glinted in the sunlight. "I'm the best at being tricky! I'm the best at being tricky!" she roared. "You are indeed," said Egret, shaking the water from his feathers. "You are the trickiest little hippo." The end.
Hi everybody! If you like this video, subscribe here for more. Bye!